Pluto in Aquarius. Let us talk about Pluto in Aquarius. Let me just first summarize what it is. Okay. I was a little, teaser into what this video will be. So, sorry for that introduction. Pluto in Aquarius is all about technology. It is all about how we can be in community with one another and how we can really transform being so objective and so stuck in the rational mind that we're not connected to our heart and our body. These are some of the themes that I'm going to be discussing with Pluto and Aquarius in this podcast. And this is the first of 2 podcasts. This is the collective one, and then I'm going to be doing the one for your sign. The one for all 12 signs, your sun, moon, and rising sign. So this is a really, really big transit that we're in right now, and there's a lot going into this. So, I'm going to be breaking it down one thing by thing. So, I'm just going to give you some dates first of all. Pluto first entered Aquarius on March 23rd of 2023. For the very, very first time, it dipped in 2023. Then stayed there until June 11th. Then it returned back into Aquarius again, or retrograded back into Capricorn, went direct in October, and then went direct, continued going direct, until it landed direct. And it moved into Aquarius January 19th. And then it stayed there, retrograded in May, and then retrograded back into Capricorn back in September 1st, and then stationed direct again in October of that year, and then continued moving forward. And then entered Aquarius fully November 19th, 2024. And it will stay here until 2043. We're in 2043. I think that astrologer put this date out. I'm not exactly sure about it because I can't calculate that. But or I never have calculated it. However, she did say something like March 8th, 2043. And so Pluto will be in Pisces. It will dip into Pisces between March and September of 2043. And then it will return fully to Pisces in January 2044. So Pluto is going to be here for 20 years. I'm going to be 40 by the time this transit is over. Unbelievable. How long it's going to last and the effects that it's going to have on all of us. So, this transit is going to bring about a lot of collective awakening. It's going to bring about us awakening to who we truly are, our birthright, who we are as individuals. And Aquarius energy is about us being individuals in an intellectual, detached way where, Leo is connected to the heart and everybody else. It's very emotional. Aquarius is about being yourself in a very objective, rational way where you are rebelling against new ideas and you're trying new things out just on a mental, intellectual perspective, and not so much a heart-based perspective. So, Pluto in Aquarius is going to awaken all of us to that aspect of us, but also awaken us to that we are connected in community. And how are we going to be our unique, authentic selves while contributing to humanity with our ideas and what we say and what we do to humanity? That is really something to keep in mind with this. Is how are we in community with each other? We are one in humanity. And I think I'm going to call my North Node in Aquarius video for the nodes. We are one, or be one in humanity, because that's what Aquarius energy is. And so that video will be coming up sometime when I feel like doing it, or next week, or whatever. It'll probably be before then, but anyway, it talks about revolutionizing our reality. Like revolutionizing. Like Aquarius is technological. Technology. It's revolutions, things that revolutionize the way that we go about life. Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius deals a lot with technology. It can deal with AI. It can deal with all this kind of stuff that is very much about changing up the way that we used to live and making it more modern. Aquarius is about like, let's start a revolution. Aquarius is not afraid to make waves and destroy the status quo so that we as humanity can evolve to something greater. Aquarius is like very, very futuristic. Like, what inventions can we come up with that can make humanity better with where it is at the time? Like, it's with the times and for the times, but it's ahead of the time. Hence why Aquarius is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. So, personally, you want to look in your chart to see if you have any fixed placements. Any planet in fixed signs. I think I've already been impacted by this because my Mercury is at 1 degree of Taurus, so I was already impacted by Pluto, which is probably very, very tough years that I was impacted the last 3 years. Although I haven't really looked into that, I could have. But those with placements in fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, will be really, really impacted by Pluto and Aquarius over the next 20 years. I mean, we're already in year 3 of this, or year 4 of this. So we're just at the beginning of stages of this. So I do this on Sundays because this is an extra video. This is, not a transit for the week, but this is another big transit, which is why I'm doing this. I only really do one transit for the week, mainly because it just takes forever to do both videos. It takes a lot of energy out of me. But this is the one exception to that, and this transit is not actually occurring this week. It's different. And it's going on now. So it's kind of tricky, but it does make sense. So if you have fixed placements, you will undergo a deep transformation where you will be asked to face your shadows, like any shadow content that you have denied or pushed down. You'll be asked to bring up, and you'll be asked to release what no longer serves you, because that's what Pluto does. It brings up the dirt and the dust and the rust and the gains from the past that we need to look at, that we need to really, really examine, like, does this feel right for me? Is this working out for me? Is this serving me? Is this helping me? Or is it not? And if it's not, Pluto implores us, and how it can impact personal planets. Pluto transits can be very, very tough. Because like, with Pluto transits, if Pluto is transiting your sun, moon, or Mercury, Venus, or Mars, or ascendant or midheaven, you will not be the same person by the time you began the transit, by the time you end the transit, to the time you end the transit. Like, if you do not transform and just go with the flow and go along with what Pluto wants you to transform and let go of, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a really, really hard time. You're going to be very, very tested during these transits. And they ask you to change. They ask you to release the old. And the longer that you hold on to that negative attachment of what you have, and you don't let it go, the more you will suffer and the more miserable and unhappy you will be during those transits. So, make Pluto your friend. Make Pluto your boyfriend or your girlfriend during those transits. But yeah, for these people, they will be asked, particularly, they will be hit hard, depending upon what degree your fixed placements are. I know that a family member of mine has Sun at Leo at around 18 degrees, so somewhere in the middle of the transit he'll be impacted. And that's just an example of what it means if you have fixed placements. And so I'm just going to move on. So Pluto is a planet that wants us to face the truth, no matter how much we resist it. Because it's like, Pluto is like, you're going down to your basement. You're afraid to see what's down in the basement of your mind and your psyche. And if you, face the shadows, if you make friends with your ghosts, if you bring what is dark to light, if you make the unconscious conscious, if you look at those shadows head on and don't resist them and face them, it's hard. It is hard because we really don't want to face those shadows. So we are resistant. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts and humility and the willingness and the the really looking at ourselves in the mirror to go there and face these shadows. So Pluto wants to get to the bottom of things. It wants to dig things up. That's what it's about, like digging up what is hidden, what is unseen, to get to the core of who you really are. Because Pluto is about who you really are inside yourself, not the superficial element of your daily life, but the deep stuff that actually makes you who you are. That, like Pluto says, Pluto is a planet that says, like, hey, you have layers, and it's time to acknowledge those layers. It is time to peel back the layers and look at all those parts of yourself that you need to look at that are part of you. So Pluto deals with what we hide away and feel ashamed of. What parts of us we're ashamed of. Could be how we walk. Could be how we talk. Could be a certain quirk that we have. A certain talent that we have that we don't have a lot of self-efficacy for, if that's the right word for it, or high self-esteem for. Like, I guess an example is, I'm not very good at drawing. Like, I'm creative in ways that involve communication, singing, writing, doing all that talking. I'm creative in that way, not through drawing and painting, for example. But it's more about what you're ashamed of. That's what it's about more. is, what are you ashamed about? What is that thing that's ashamed about? That is a part of you. And we repress this part of us. We repress it. We keep it down because we don't want to look at it. We don't want to live it. We want to disown it. Now, Pluto, get this, it has a 248-year cycle. Wow. When Pluto enters a sign for the first time, things change and we feel it. We notice it. It's huge. It is huge. It impacts the world in very, very significant ways. And probably us individually. But especially the world. Like, this is a more mundane transit because these outer transits and these aspects between outer planets and outer planets transiting through signs impact more of the world than it does individual, whereas the personal planets are more individual to us. That's what we find. But I'm going to look at both sides in here, in this video, both the collective and the individual, because this is a big transit that's going to last for a lot of years, so people are going to be coming back to this video over the next 20 years, and that's what this video is intended to create. Is for you to go back and refer to what I'm saying in this video. I did another video on my original channel for this way back in November 2022, and I just, when I made that, I wasn't the most well spoken. I just didn't. I think that was on my other channel. I want to do it on this channel, and in kind of an updated version of it, and a better version of that video. That video is still very, very good if you want to check it out over on my original channel. But this is the new official video. So, now the last time that Pluto entered a sign in the other sign was between the years of 2007 and 2008. Think back to what happened in 2008. I barely remember it. I was 4. I was 4. Just 4 years old when this happened. And my family was living in a rental house in my local town. And we moved houses, and apparently moving houses and buying houses was very, very tough at the time because in 2008, when Pluto entered Capricorn, think of Capricorn, the financial markets, big markets. The global financial crisis happened. It was like the Great Depression, but in this modern age. And there was actually an astrologer who started her YouTube channel, which is off it now. I really, really wish she was back on it, but she made a video about how to protect herself. The very, very first video she made, I think, was how to protect yourself during the financial crisis, and that was made way back in 2008. You can tell the quality of the camera was the way it was, and everything like that. Like, it's a real authentic thing back in, how things were filmed in 2008. But so, getting into this, just discussing a little bit, just giving you an overview of this, it caused a financial crisis, particularly impacting the United States. It dealt with homes and houses, something about assets going on with that. And it became very, very difficult for you to buy a house. It became very hard to hold on to your money. And so the banks were going through a rough at the time, and the real estate market with houses crashed. So that was huge. Now, during 2020, when Pluto was in Capricorn, the economy really suffered because of everything going on that I will not get into here. But throughout the 16 years, I'm thinking 2008, 2018, 12, 14, like 15, 16 years of Pluto and Capricorn, the economy was very, very unstable. It went up and down and up and down. Prices dropped and fell, and and everything like that. So that went on with that. Now, I already covered all of the dates already with that, so I'm going to move on. Now, some themes associated with Aquarius is community dynamics. Like how we interact in community with one another. How we are collaborative in community. How we get along in community. Collective movements, like we see the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. We see, movements for the bettering of humanity, like people getting together and protesting and revolutionizing humanity with their rights and their higher ideals, rebelling against this system to create change. Because they ultimately want to create change. So they want to see things get better and more equal and more just and more for the good of all. For the good of all. So it's very, very Aquarius. And then people coming together to make a shared vision a reality. Like, people coming together to make a community a reality, to make this dream a reality, that everybody is contributing their unique part into that dream, into that tapestry. Everybody's weaving their own part into it. And then creating that reality from that, collectively, together. Now, Aquarian energy is very objective. It's very much based off of the rational, logical mind. It is detached from emotion. It is detached from any emotion, any feeling, anything that is not rational, not mental, not ingenious level, and it being advanced in the mind is, well, not Aquarian. And we leave that behind when it comes to Aquarian energy. So, some areas that Aquarius deals with are science, technology, because technology gives way into the future. We as humans invent technology for the future. That's what Aquarius rules. AI. I have some things to say about AI. I mean, if I do use it in my videos, it will be very, very rare on occasion, probably not very common at all, although, maybe an option. I'm just going to throw that out because I created a song about it. But, AI takes away humanity, basically. It replaces what we do with something that's perfect, with something that's inhuman, by making it look human. When it comes to film and all those things like that. And it looks so real, and, you can't tell what is AI and what isn't. That's so dangerous. And people are using it to cheat off of it. Like, use your creative energy. Use your own personal energy and put your creativity into it. Don't use AI. And with music, I create my own music. I don't use AI. They're slipping in, as the song said, with, those songs. But, most of the videos I produce and songs I create will be my own creation. So I create a lot of my own songs and music and all that. So that's what I have to say on AI and artificial intelligence. And AI is inhuman. It lacks conscience, it lacks intuition, it lacks all emotion. It can do so many things, but it lacks emotion. So we don't want to get to a point over the next 20 years where AI is just replacing humanity. What we really, really value with, what we want to put out into the world. We don't want it to replace all this. We don't want it to take over. So we want to, remain sovereign to ourselves. I mean, if certain aspects of AI could go away, that would be fine, and that would be great. But, like it or not, AI is here to stay. It is kind of the way of the future, and it's going to stay here for a long time. Many, many years, probably this whole transit. So that's what I wanted to say on AI. Now, Capricorn energy deals with conditioning. We are conditioned into believing. We are conditioned into what we are trained into acting and trained to accept. Like, these are the things that you learn that you must accept, that you can. And Capricorn can be very, very disempowering. Like, you learn these things, but you can't change them. Aquarius says you can change it. Aquarius empowers you to change up the rules of status quo and liberate yourself from it. Capricorn deals with things such as big institutions, governments, and any outer authority. Like, it deals with the outer authority. The top-down institutions is what Capricorn deals with in mundane astrology. Top-down institutions, people at the top having all the power. You are, I've used this word a lot on videos. Well, let me just say, you have to obey them. You are obligated to obey them. Obey those people. Well, not people. Forces, governments. You are obligated to obey the governments. And outer authority. Now, during the planet transit of Pluto and Capricorn, I'm going to get into some more stuff about that coming up. But the thing with Pluto and Capricorn is Pluto is asking us collectively and individually to get out of relying so much on the outside authority to tell us what to do, what's right, what's, ethical to do, what you must do, what is for your highest good to do. Instead, we were empowering ourselves with our own inner authority, saying, we know what's right for ourselves. We have an inner authority that can tell us, go in this, do things that are authentic to us, that feel right to us, that we know are right, not relying on the outside to tell you, what is right and wrong. So we were not so much relying on external authority. We were relying on inner authority for that. Now, also, Pluto and Capricorn transformed our global financial and political structures, as well as looked at all of the people in power. All of the people in power and all those secrets. And Pluto and Capricorn dug up all those secrets and really asked us to dig up all the secrets of the rich and the powerful, all the big governments, big institutions, big authorities, and how they are not using their power wisely, how they are misusing it, abusing it, hurting others with it. Like a government and the leader of the country, and Aquarius is for the people, first of all. Like, we as people are creating the government, but creating the rules of society. We as people are creating those rules and coming together and banding together. But a leader of a government should care for the people, should be concerned about the people, not power over, and I want power for myself, and it's all about me, and I'm big and loud and fantastic, and I just want all the power and want to take all the power. And understanding this, immediately what comes to mind to me is our president in the United States. Like, he is an example of somebody who is a dominator, somebody who is very power over, very Pluto in Capricorn, and he was elected 2016, for the first time, I was disappointed, very, very disappointed that he, won. Is my personal opinion because I voted for somebody else, but, and then in 2024, get this, Pluto was at the very end of Capricorn in 2024, hung out in the end of Capricorn. It was going back between 0 degrees of Capricorn and 0 degrees of Aquarius and 29 of Capricorn. So it was going back and forth. And Pluto is at the end of Capricorn. And there was an election and he was elected. And that just proves that it's like, the old order, and he is somebody who is not very much for the people. Doesn't really care, genuinely care and value his country. Instead it is myself, me, myself, and I want power. And not very grounded, not very, put together in the mind, for several reasons, and not the person that is fit to lead this country. And if we are to move into the Aquarian age, we need to find better leaders. We need to be educated enough to where we are electing leaders for our country that are going to be right for us. We need to be knowledgeable enough to not give in to the siren song of all of these claims, of all these promises. You need to ask yourself, what is the substance here? What is the substance? What plan are you going to deliver on? What plan are you actually going to create for us? And if you don't have a plan, and if you don't, keep your promise and do things for your country that are, selfless, and in a way where you are doing what is right for them and not only what is right for you, it becomes a negative, then you are just not meant to lead this country, because America was founded on a system where we are meant to have governors that are elected by the people and for the people, and they are meant to put the people first, not themselves and not power over. That's what we're trying to move away from. And, our president is keeping us from moving into the new Aquarian age. Now, that's what I have to say on this, that I just wanted to, get on my soapbox and, speak to what this issue is, because it came up. That's why I spoke to it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say there. All right. So, moving on to the next point. This is going to be long. I'm taking my time with this. The future's calling us. The future is calling us. We are being called into the future. We are being invited to move into the future. Are we open to that calling? Are we willing to go into the future? Or are we not willing? Are we stuck in the past? Do we want to keep the same old old order, the way that things have always been done, the way that we've been living? Because at this time, the past is going to be harder and harder to stay in. And the longer we stay in the past, well, the more problems that we're going to have, and the more divide that we're going to be having if we stay in the past. And so the past is going to be harder and harder to keep up. We have to let go of the past and look at what is not working and bravely move on. Now, there may be a divide between the ones who want to keep to the... we're seeing this already. There's some who are on one side of the spectrum where they want to keep to the old ways of being, the way that things have always been done. They're Saturnian, they're resistant to, change, or, progressive change, or equality, freedom, all these kind of things. And there are those who are going to be more progressive and those who are going to be open-minded towards the future. There's some that are so rigid and, being closed-minded, but some who are going to be open-minded. Some who are going to be very, very, open-minded towards the new. That is, very, very huge. With that, being open-minded. Basically, that's what it is. And to move on. And then Pluto in Aquarius is supposed to break us out of our cage of all the conditioning and societal expectations that we've been put on. Aquarius asks us to break free from all that. Now, new technologies will revolutionize our world. We are looking at the ethical and destructive effects of those technologies. The title of this video is about technology. That's really what it comes down to. Technology for good or evil. That's the question to ask. Are we going, we have the choice as humans. Like, we invented technology. We have the choice whether to use it for good or for evil. How are we going to use it for? What are we going to use it for? There are certainly good ways to use technology, ethical ways, right ways. And then there are the not so good ways. And that's what we have to become aware of and really have the autonomy to step into and, make that choice as humanity. Like, looking at, the destructive aspects of the destructive potentials of technologies. AI is a big one, and other technologies. I mean, the last thing we want is computer robots going around the earth and taking over and being almighty and powerful. We want to keep our humanity. We cannot let technology or AI or all of that take away our humanity. We cannot let that happen. We can't let that happen. So, now people at the top, and I'm questioning myself, is this video going to be really, really popular? Like, I'm questioning that to myself right now as I'm doing this. Maybe not, I don't know. Maybe over the years it will become a very, very popular video, I'm thinking. So, so people are at the top, thinking that they are so great. The term that I came across is elitism. Like people at the top, being, very, very, in power, like having all the power, and social division. Really, really looking at social division. people at the top think they have a lot of power, and as a result, causing social division. That's what we don't want. And excluding those who have different perspectives and worldviews. Like, if we're not careful, we could just single out anyone who has a very, very unique and a very, very unique and authentic point of view. And that is what I want to say to that. So anyway, I was just trying to decide something right there. So anyway, being present with what I'm talking about right now, not getting stuck in the detail that I was focused on in my mind. But social division, excluding those who, if we're not careful, we could be very, very unequal. We could be very, very close-minded. Like, the Aquarius is a fixed sign. Aquarius, holds true to certain principles. Like, these are the certain principles that we're going to stick to. And, it's not very open towards, it's not very open towards, others. It's very, very cold, very cut off. And the high road, Aquarius can evolve through Leo, through being open-hearted. And the high road is Aquarius can be at the high road more open to all these different perspectives and interested in all these different people from all walks of life, all these different viewpoints, all these different ways of looking at the world. And so we need to remain open and curious to that. Now, what this can also be is, we can also conform to a new set of rules where we disown and push down parts of ourselves to fit in with society. Where we forget about ourselves and our own sovereignty and push down these parts of ourselves just to fit in, just to go along with what society wants us to do, sacrifice ourselves just for society. That's wrong. We shouldn't do that. We shouldn't give in to that. We should make our own rules for our own lives that feel right to us as sovereign individuals. So Aquarius deals with disconnecting ourselves from our psyche. Like in Aquarius energy, we are so stuck in our heads. So stuck in the mind, in what is rational, in what is logical, and it can be very, very cold because it's like technological, rational thought, and thought is cold. Like Aquarius can be like an icebox, like very, very cold, and we can become very, very cold and detached at the low level with this transit. That we disconnect ourselves from our psyche, and as a result, we can have very, very overwhelming experiences that we find it very, very difficult or cannot be healed or integrated. That's the downside. So we can have a disconnection from the physical or emotional body. That's the downside of this. And part of this, oh my gosh, have I been living this for the past month? Have I been living the shadow for the past month and needing to get out of this? When I came across this, I was like, look at myself in the mirror, but disconnecting from our physical body, from our emotions, from our true feelings, because we are addicted to technology. That's the day and age that we live in. Guilty as charged. I'm addicted. To doing all these things, maybe not technology, but just in general. It's more of a Leo thing than an Aquarius thing in my mind right now. But anyway, we're all, when I say I'm addicted, we're all addicted. So worse we can get caught in being so addicted to, and this is so typical. This is nothing new. Addiction to technology, phones, and the result of this is us being disconnected from our physical body. We're so stuck in the head, in the mind, that we're not grounded, that we're not in our body, that we're not connected with our soul and our intuition and our in our physicality. We need to get in our body, tap into our body, and real relationships. That's the other thing. Not just the relationships that we form online with just accounts and names and words online, but real face-to-face, human-to-human relationships. We do not want to get to an age where we are not allowed to be face-to-face with each other. We've already suffered that downside through the pandemic of COVID-19. We do not need some rule that says you cannot go up to somebody and talk to them face to face. Oh my gosh, wow, unfathomable. Let's hope that never happens. With all the technology that's coming in, let's hope that never happens. Let's hope that we're not living in 1984 and Fahrenheit 451 or all those things, which I could go into, but I'm not going to go into. Basically, Big Brother, putting all these limitations on us, and we're seeing the negative of power and all that. So we're seeing how unhealthy this, and Pluto over these next 20 years is going to shine a bright light on all of this addiction, of all this disconnection, because Pluto illuminates the shadows of everything, the sign that it goes through. Now, the opposite sign to Aquarius is Leo, and eventually I will get to the Leo North Node. Let's talk about Leo. We need Leo to balance us out during this time. Leo, the sign Leo, is about our inner child. This is the beauty of Leo. It rules our inner child. The childlike part of us that just has an enthusiasm for life, an excitement for life, and is emotionally tapped in with their heart, and emotionally tapped into fun and inspiration, and wanting to give from a heart-centered place. A child that is innocent, that doesn't care about structures or schedules or thought or logic. Where we need to prioritize fun and play as best as possible. Leo North nodes are going to prioritize that. The North Node is what you're prioritizing that you have not prioritized in the past. So they're prioritizing fun and play in their lives. They're making it part of their life. They're learning to ask themselves, how are you creative? That's what, they're learning to unlock their creativity. And so, we're being present for our lives. Being present is a huge lesson with the zodiac sign of Leo. It's not like Taurus, like a grounded, central thing. It's more like, how can we make the most of the moment? How can we seize the moment? What can we do to act the moment to play or, sing or, be inspired or, whatever. And, when we're so stuck into the mind, and, if we're so focused on our ideas, and, and the future, like if we're so focused on that, then we're not present, we're not connected with our hearts. We cannot abandon and neglect our heart connection. So, we need to connect with our hearts, we need to connect with what our passions are. We cannot forget, what, as an individual, we are passionate about, that comes not from the mind, but from our hearts. And it'll be a very, very sad world if we get so rational and so cold and so technological that we lose our humanity. We lose our, what makes us human. Our hearts, our joy, what we're passionate about. What we authentically create just because we want to create, not for some big plan of humanity, but because we, from our hearts, want to create it. We cannot lose our humanity. We cannot allow the technology, the onset of that, to take away who we are as human beings. Because we are human beings first. From millennia, we were, human beings. So, we cannot allow the detachment and the mental rationality to take that away from us. And so this brings revolution. As I said before, I think I've already emphasized that. Now, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was around the time of the American Revolution. Think back to that period. America was very, very new at the time, very, very young, just started out. Colonies developed, and a lot of events led up to that, like the Boston Tea Party, but we were fighting against an army, and I saw a documentary about this, the history of us, when I was in the hospital, and I was seeing this. We were fighting against an army, and I mean, it is an option to, and I actually got a book recently about, which is fascinating me, about historical events in the astrology going on that time. And I'll probably just talk about those events and tie it into astrology with what I can, what I have to say about it. But, historical events are an option with this podcast, because if you look at the title of this podcast, it literally tells you more than just astrology, the vastness of Google. But I put it in spirituality and religion category on Spotify, so, it does fall in that category. Because that's a lot of what the episodes are about. But, so that may come sometime. But anyway, the American Revolution. We didn't have a lot of technology. We were very, very weak. We, as America, didn't have, fancy, suits of, whatever that they wore, and proper tools, let alone enough soldiers to fight. There were all these reasons there were all these disadvantages that we had against the British, and yet we won. And I think the reason that we won, and I'm gonna jump to this, and I'm gonna talk about my next point, was that we had a fighting spirit. We had a fighting spirit. We would not let some outside force that is not our people, our country, rule over us and rule the roost. We would not let, we didn't let them, have all the power. We wanted to create our own rules. We wanted to be a sovereign nation. And it was our nation, and they were on our soil, so we had the right to, have the authority to, take that back. Take back what was ours. And so the British were fighting just because they were skilled. And they did it for the king. They had no spirit and, whatever. They just followed, marching orders and, did it for the king and did it for their country, not, I mean, they probably had a lot of fighting spirit, but let's just say that they did it for their king and, marching orders, and we did it for something greater than that. Let's just say that. And let's just make it very, very simple. But so anyway, that was one example. The French Revolution, if you think about how there were the low class, the people at the top, they wanted more equality there, and they didn't approach all this in the right ways with the reign of terror. Like, we saw some negative things in the storming of the Bastille in 1789. Which the storming of the Bastille was like, a huge thing because you were taking over, like Pluto and Aquarius themes in history is like times of revolution, times of when the power was coming back to the people. Like with Pluto and Aquarius, it's about power to the people. It's no longer about a government or leader anymore. It is for the people. It is for us. We are in control. We are the ones in control and taking back our power. And in the American Constitution, like we were, creating our own rules for what we wanted, America to be based on the Constitution. You think about the Declaration of Independence, which was kind of similar to this. So you see all these examples. Now, some examples of the Pluto and Aquarius technological innovations was microchips, ChatGPT, which we know, you don't go on there and just type in, write me an essay for a paper and, just turn it in because you're not citing your sources and you can't cite AI. And if you do, you'll flunk the class. So anyway, Pluto and Aquarius stays in a sign for between 12 to 20 years. It varies. It's very, very consistent. And Pluto deals with the generations. And sometime, and I'll have to do individual videos for this. I'll have to do one video for the Pluto and Gemini generation, Pluto and Cancer generation, Pluto and Leo generation. Like, I'll do a whole series of videos probably on the Pluto generations, because I just find that fascinating. And I bet that book that I got on, historical events and astrology will talk about that. And I'm just fascinated to delve into that book because, looking at how society was and how life was during those times. Like from one era to the next, it looks very, very different. There's generational trends. Like in Pluto and Leo, we had the baby boom, and all we had a lot of babies and a lot of people were getting out and about and doing all that kind of thing with Pluto and Leo. Pluto and Virgo, health and things being right and things being very, very logical. We saw a lot of things come out with that. Pluto and Scorpio, people were becoming more aware of psychology and the real human shadows and the messy parts of human life. And the Oprah show came about with the talk shows about this kind of stuff came about, like thinking Steve Wilkos, which is very, very dramatic. And, Dr. Phil, all these shows are very they came out of this Pluto and Scorpio generation. And then Pluto and Sag, we had 9/11. That happened. Which was devastating. And basically it was against one belief system fighting and destroying somebody who had another belief system. And that was tragic. And I may do historical events with the thing every once in a while, but I will never, and YouTube will probably not allow me to do this. Let's hope not. Otherwise, it kind of sends up a red flag in my mind. Show what 9/11 looked like. That, that is taking something so serious and making something just artificial when it really wasn't artificial. It was a real thing. It was a real thing. So, that is one thing that I can proudly claim, because I say that because it doesn't feel right. So anyway, that's enough on that. I already talked about Pluto and Capricorn. Enough on the Pluto generations. I want to go deep with this because that's Pluto energy. So anyway, so it's generational. Aquarius is innovation. Like all these innovations, all these new inventions coming out. Aquarius rules all these technologies and new inventions, and also forward thinking. Aquarius thinks ahead of its time. And these two kind of come together, like forward thinking about creating new inventions that can evolve humanity. Like the light bulb, the telescope, the computer, the train, all these inventions. Now, we could look at generative AI and questions surrounding what's happening with our data and the privacy with our data, and it's getting into our data. And also, I think that something that could go along with this is becoming more aware of the dangers of technology. Apart from AI, the dangerous people of technology, like when you get overexpose yourself, and there are bots in comments, there are scams, like there's a lot of scam accounts, on Instagram and everything like that. And people that will, and I want to say, there are pedophiles in the world who will, go out and seek people because of what they have done online. And I literally had a dream one night. It was this scary dream, and I with all the depression I've gone through the past 2 years dealing with YouTube and my own issues with it, because of the things I've done with it, I cannot be hacked. I just cannot have my account hacked. And I really feel like I had this idea to go in and change my password to make it so complicated that no hacker will be able to get into it. So sometime I'll have to, maybe sit down and do that, and be willing to do that and have the certainty that I'll get back into my account. But an astrologer was hacked. The other week, and that was tragic. And so, being more private with our data, so that we are not hacked by hackers on the internet. So we'd also see space travel becoming very, very huge. Traveling to space, the distribution of community resources. We could see resources in communities not being, like one person is owning the resource, one person is keeping this entire resource for themselves. Like we could see these resources being distributed and shared. Like with Aquarius energy, things are shared. Everyone has a piece of the pie. Everyone has a sample of the, whatever it is. And everyone gets, everyone has the freedom to take what they want to from that, stash of, whatever it is, from that collection, from all those resources. So resources will be more shared rather than, people owning it for themselves. So, now, Pluto transits, Pluto asks us to evolve. It basically is pounding on our door in the more, it's like, if you think of the big bad wolf and, whatever, it's like if we don't answer the door, the person's just going to keep knocking and pounding. So if we don't answer the call to transform, then Pluto is just going to keep pounding on that door until we actively say, do we actively lean into Pluto and invite it in and change and transform? So, and Pluto transits make history. They certainly make history. They're very, very big events in that way. So, so with Pluto, we must let go of the old to make space for the new. That's what we must do. Because if we hold on to the old ways of being, and we need to let what doesn't serve us go, so that we can make space for what is new energy. And the war in the Middle East right now, and Russia and Ukraine right now, is just an example of the Pluto and Capricorn. And this war started back in 2022, I think March of 2022. Where this war started. And I remember doing a live stream about this on my original channel at the time, about Russia and Ukraine, and I remember doing a short about getting on your eagle's perch and not allowing it to take over, because March was a very, very critical month for that and all that kind of thing. So I don't want to go too much into that. And then a utopia. Like, a utopia is a perfect place. And to live in a perfect place, it doesn't involve the technology that we have, or it doesn't involve us getting caught in the irrational, logical mind. It involves us being connected with our humanity, connecting with our heart. It represents, respecting each other's freedom of speech, freedom of rights, individuality, talents, gifts, abilities, being accepting of each other, basically moving into the Aquarian age and honoring our spirituality and intuition. I think a video that kind of follows this video was the video I put out yesterday on the perfect utopia, the ending of the dominator culture. This kind of goes along with that. And in that, I was reading a message by this astrologer, and it was a profound message about how history has ended. We are moving into a new age, where spirituality reigns supreme, and we're really respecting each other on much deeper, more emotional levels. So, all right, so we are getting to the end. Great. So this is about creating a more perfect union, quote unquote. Creating a more perfect union, creating a union where we're not divided. Where we're together and unified, with each other. We're holding hands with each other as humanity. Then the other downside is not being connected on social media. Being very, very alien to each other. Being very, very just judging each other on. I want to say judging others on social media. And I want to say YouTube, where this video, you're seeing this, is an Aquarius sun with a stellium of Aquarius. I think, the last time I checked, Mercury in Aquarius, Venus in Aquarius, and the North Node in Aries, which is about being yourself and authenticity. Like, on YouTube, aren't you, being yourself with your videos? Because it's you. The first thing of, syllable, it's you. It's like a platform where, you can, be yourself, and it's like, it's so cleverly named. And it is an Aquarius where everyone is allowed to express themselves with their content that is uniquely themselves, and it also benefits others. Them being there as an itself benefits humanity because others see it, and that is Aquarius energy, is being yourself, while by doing that you are benefiting the group. You're benefiting the collective. That's what Aquarius energy is. So, and then we have to have a system that considers everybody human. everyone is a human sovereign being, and we have to have the system that has this. So we have to get into that, with that, where the system considers everyone as a human being and everyone as equal and everyone having a human soul and a spirit and all that kind of thing like that. Like everybody has a soul, a spirit, a name, and an identity and all that kind of things like that. So, Pluto in Aquarius is also what is underground, like what is below the surface, what is that we need to dig up, and underground issues collectively. It also deals with the patriarchy, like we're seeing, the destruction of the patriarchy, and that the old structures and ways, like Capricorn is the old top-down structures and traditions that, limit us, and Aquarius is like, wants to break free that, wants to revolutionize that. So, religious rights is also with this. We also see renewable energy as part of Pluto moving through a sign, waves of energy. Some examples that I came across while reading from the Astro Twins, which are, very, very, very infamous. They gave some examples, and it kind of got into the minutiae of this. Batteries for electric vehicles, getting cash infusions is one. And also, we are really mistreating our Earth right now. With all the, things that we are, I don't want to make any assumptions, but, the, gas, what we are putting into our Earth right now is very, very destructive. How we're abusing the Earth, how we are mistreating the Earth, and how we need to care for the Earth. What kind of things do we need to do to make it a better place? Make it a more beautiful, healthy, cleaner place. And we're not doing that. We're abusing the Earth. We trash the Earth. And so caring about more the Earth, like not sacrificing, what we need, and not making, it's not about suffering, us suffering just to save the Earth. Like, I live with all these things, and I just can't. But can we stop just putting all these chemicals into the atmosphere and doing all this stuff that can hurt the Earth, and becoming more concerned about this climate and becoming more aware of global warming is going to be huge. Now we could also see companies replacing items that become outdated. Basically, you offer up, you give a service to them, and you take a, replace item, an item that is basically, unusable, broken, and you give it to this company, and they fix it. They improve it, or well, they replace it with a new item that is better, higher quality technology. And Aquarius is about new things, new energies. So there you go. So we can also see thought leaders, doing this as well. Space travel, as I said before, telescope technology. Now, communities, we're seeing the top-down structure come down. We're now horizontal. We're now horizontal in terms of our structure. And I made a video about the age of Aquarius, and if you like this video, I would definitely check out that podcast on the age of Aquarius, because I go in depth with what that age is about. And Pluto in Aquarius is really the true entrance into the age of Aquarius. Like, we are officially in the age of Aquarius now. We are in it now. In the beginning stages of it, because it's long, very, 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 very long. But we're in it now. We're living in the informational digital age, and that is just gonna, where we are in like 10 years from now, even, it's just, it's going to be, like from the moment that we enter this decade to the moment that we're going to be ending, the world is going to be a very different place. So by 2030, the world's going to be very, very different. So we're now in the middle of the decade, and we're seeing all these planets changing signs, all these changes in the world occurring, where micro societies will be forming. Like people will be coming together, like like-minded people. It's a good time to find your tribe during this time. Like come together with like-minded people who have your interests, have your passions, and grow crops together, or do things together that is of a certain interest. And we're going to be seeing more niches. So we're going to be seeing more groups of people come together that are going to specialize in these interests, in these areas, and people becoming more humanitarian, like caring for humanity. Like Aquarius is caring for humanity, and in that way, because you care for humanity, you are revolutionizing it. You are sharing your ideas. Like it's a compassion for humanity as a whole, and you're doing it through you being yourself and sharing your ideas. It's not just conforming, and just because conforming to humanity and the status quo is not very compassionate towards humanity. So Aquarius really cares about the issues going on, and it has all these great ideas to revolutionize it, to innovate it. So, has a skill that could, and with these things, like everybody has a skill, and the skill could benefit everyone in these communities. Well, you have this skill, and it serves others with this skill. And so we could see people coming together and collectively change not only how they live, but how we live as humanity. So that is all I want to say on this Pluto and Aquarius transit. This was a long video, but this transit is going to be here for a while, and I think that I gave this transit the true respect that it deserved now. So this has been the video on Pluto and Aquarius. If you want to check out that video on my original channel, you certainly can. It's up there for you to see. But you probably have, heard me talk about it enough. I took my sweet time with this because I was probably like, whoa, this is a lot of information. So I was like, let's slow down and take my time with this to really get through all of this. So I hope that you found this transit interesting. Stay tuned for the video on how you can be impacted. What you need to know for your sun, moon, and rising sign coming up very, very shortly. On the vastness of Google Podcasts and on Spotify and YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you in that video, and I will see you on the next podcast episode. Take good care.